welcome back to 843 TV here at Schiller and Hamilton Law Firm. And we're talking about a very important case today in our show. Of course, Camp LeJeune and the water contamination. You outlined those details earlier, and Kevin talked about this law. So now what?
Well, that's a very good question. And, I think that's one of the problems that we're seeing right now is a lot of the individuals that are affected by this contaminated water, they don't know what to do. Now, they're getting a lot of information. I mean, they're getting, emails and text messages. They're getting brochures sent to them. Even my dad, who's not a veteran, had nothing to do with Camp LeJeune. He and I were talking last night, and he said, he's had 2 or 3 flyers, direct mailings sent to his house. So it really is kind of sad. And one of the things that we find is that individuals don't really know what to do. So we want to help answer those questions. The first thing I would say, is don't respond to a social media ad.
Right.
You can click on it if it's providing information, like a video that explains, who may qualify and what the conditions are. That's one thing. But if they're asking you to go online and fill out an intake, here's what's really happening behind the scenes, because I've been asked to do this with other cases like the 3M cases, or, there's mass tort cases. This is not a mass tort. Each one of these cases are going to have to be proven individually. They're going to have to be filed individually. So these mass tort companies, these are ad agencies. And so they get lawyers to spend a bunch of money to cover their advertising budget. And I know one that has solicited me. They've got a $42 million budget that they're about to start spending to solicit Camp LeJeune cases. And so what they do is they take an attorney's money and they guarantee them 100 retainers or 150 retainers. So they're actually just ad agencies. They get individuals signed up, and then they sell those retainers to a law firm. And then the law firm that buys them is not really the law firm that's going to work on the case. They then associate another law firm, they split the fees, and it goes into a big group of cases. And that's how you see with these mass tort cases. This case is way different. And, it's actually an individual that needs to bring their claim. So the first thing I would say to do is either talk with an attorney, get your questions answered. We're here to answer those questions. But they also need to talk to their doctor.
Yeah.
They need to find out from their doctor whether their doctor thinks that the conditions that they have are at least as likely as not caused by the contamination. And, when I say at least as likely as not.
Yes, let us explain that.
Well, there's a burden of proof. And in some cases, it's most probably or more likely than not. Those are the typical standards, or burden of proof. This law is different. And I can tell you, in the 30 years that I've practiced law, I've never seen anything like this. And this is the first time in U.S. history that the burden of proof is so low. It's literally, it has to be at least as likely as not, which is basically a coin flip, right? It's at least as likely as not there's going to be heads.
Yeah.
If I flip a coin right now, it's at least as likely as not going to be tails. So that's a pretty low standard. And the attorney that drafted this bill, I've known for years and years, he did a really good job. And I think it's a little bit of guilt going on here. The government knows they did something really bad. They know they've covered it up. And so now to make it easy, and when I say easy, they've lowered the standard because time has passed since 1980. A lot of time has passed. A lot of things have happened. People have lived their lives. There could be all sorts of other causes for their medical condition. But so they wanted to make it possible that they can seek justice. And, that's kind of what we do. And, I mentioned this earlier. Justice doesn't just happen. You have to fight for it.
Yeah.
And so we're here to fight for it. And so the first thing I would say is get in touch with your doctor, talk with your doctor, find out what your doctor thinks, because, it's going to be his opinion that matters. He's the one that's going to have to say at least as likely as not. I would start getting your medical records together, make a list of where all you've been, what doctors you've had. Your service records are going to be important. There's ways that attorneys can get a hold of those. We've got authorizations we can get, and we can recover those and have those available. But the first thing to do is talk with the doctor. The next thing I would say is talk with a lawyer. And if a lawyer's not willing to sit down and talk with you, if you're talking with an intake specialist or an intake consultant, that's probably not the right thing to do. So, our goal here is to have the individual, whether it's a family member, it's a child, maybe their mother or father passed away because of some cancer.
Yeah, that's important to remind people, not just the veteran, but a family member, a child.
It could be the next of kin. It could be children, and this bill actually gives right to children who may have been born there, or their mother was pregnant with them while they were there, and some of those diseases are quite horrific. But so. The important thing is to be able to meet with an attorney. We want to come in and hear your story. We think it's important. And, people that I've represented in the past, if you ask them, they'll say, they actually became friends of the firm. And many of my clients, that's kind of how we treat our clients like family. So we want to hear your story. Sure. And we want you to come in and talk with us. And it's going to be very time consuming. We're going to have lots of these interviews. But we're going to put a team together. And we've already put a team together to handle these cases. So we're ready.
Well, we're glad to be a friend of yours as far as our partnership with our station, and we thank you for sharing what's really important to your heart, not only important to the legal system. So thank you all for watching 843 TV, where communities come to speak.